Hey, Stephen Young here doing the Junkyard Crawl with help from our friends at High Octane Classics in Auburn, Mass. Thanks, guys. This is a 1970 American Motors Rebel SST station wagon. Now, if you know your AMC history, the Rebel first arrived in 1957 as a four-door in silver and gold. It was a muscle car, 327, and only 1,500 were built. And it was basically AMC's first muscle car. And of course, it probably paid tribute to the 1955 James Dean and Natalie Wood film Rebel Without a Cause. The word rebel was a buzzword, and before AMC went all economy in 58, 59, they were trying to go into the Detroit horsepower race at the mid-50s with the Rebel, and again, that outlaw brand, that outlaw name. But by 1968, 69, the Rebel became just a regular part of the AMC lineup under the Ambassador. But this here is kind of cool. It has the SST logo right here, and you might wonder, what does that mean? Well, you got to remember that on March 2nd, 1969, the very first flight of the Concorde, which was the supersonic transatlantic jetliner that would go from New York City to London in 3 hours, twice as fast as a Boeing 707, took flight. And everybody wanted a piece of the SST mystique, so AMC took SST and added luxury and this chrome stripe down the front. Now, SST was also optional on Javelin, Ambassador, and other models, but again, SST was strictly a trim package, which paid tribute to the idea that the Concorde, the supersonic Concorde, was a big deal in '69, which it really was. Now, this one here is not going to be as fast as a Concorde. It has the 304, but a nice logo, new for 1970. The 304 grew out of the 290, but I like the red checkerboard in the zero. And you could also get the 390 for a mere $168 on top of this. So if you ever watched Adam 12, the TV cop show, they used to drive around in 1970 Rebels and Matadors with 401s and 390s in their cars. Pretty cool stuff. But again, this one here, I can't get the hood open, so we won't beat on it. It's not my car. But here is a 1970 AMC brochure. This is a factory brochure, and the Hornet was the new deal in '70, but the Rebel was still around in its final year. And here we have the Rebel, the space car, it says. And when you see that chrome strip down the side of the body, that means SST. Here on the left, the engines that are possible. We have the six bangers, the 304, and you know, these colors, by the way, are not the colors these would have been delivered, of course. They would have been blue, AMC blue. But again, the Rebel was available in wagon form and pretty popular. In fact, about 6,946 of this particular car, the SST wagon, were built, and you can get it as a bare bones car, again, kind of austere, baby caps, or the SST loaded out with a lot more chrome, the roof rack, all that stuff. So great looking car, really. A lot of people say that if you like a Mopar B-body, like a 68 or 69 Belvedere, you like a Rebel because they're kind of similar in their styling. Let's look inside this, and you gotta love AMC's flush door handles right here, a styling touch going back to 1968. The Javelin, the AMX have this as well. And inside, this one has the Torque Command Automatic, which unfortunately still means the Borg-Warner cast iron lung under the floor. Chrysler's Torque Flight would arrive in '72, a modern aluminum automatic transmission, but again, the Torque Command, not a bad tranny, but again, this one has the SST interior, and we can see the SST logos on the doors. And one of the things that AMC liked to tout was their safety consciousness. So instead of a protruding lock button up here that might catch you or hurt you, the lock was hidden away inside of the armrest right down here. And again, SST meant this bright work here. And again, same basic car as the basic Rebel wagon, but the SST made it a little more fun, a little trickier, kind of better looking car. In the back, again, you know, plenty of room for the family. And this is, of course, the time when station wagons accounted for about 12% of all American vehicle sales, long before the days of the minivan or the SUV explosion. And dig this tire, studded snow tire right here. And look at those things rusting away, but this is somebody's effort to get more traction in the wintertime. Not saying it's from this car, but again, we're in New England here in this yard, and studded snow tires are very helpful when the snow starts to fly. Now, this does have the factory optional roof rack, which is very helpful if you're going for a long family vacation. Think Art Griswold, which is Clark Griswold, and the National Lampoon's Vacation. But you got to remember too, 1970 was also the year of the Rebel machine, and this is a Johan model kit. of the Rebel machine. Now the 390 in the Rebel machine made 340 horsepower, and these were just red, white, and blue, really cool cars, also available in yellow, I believe maybe green as you went along, but these just great psychedelic advertising right there. This is where American Motors was starting to come out of its slump. In 1967, they had a multi-million-dollar loss, near bankruptcy, and they pulled it together. But the weird thing is, the advertising for the machine was a little confusing. Here it is right here. This is from Hot Rod magazine. And notice how it says here, incidentally, if you have delusions of entering the Daytona 500 with the machine or challenging people at random, the machine is not that fast. You should know that. For instance, it's not as fast on the getaway as a 427 Corvette or a Hemi, but it is faster on the getaway than a Volkswagen, a slow freight train in your old man's Cadillac. That's in Hot Rod magazine, they put that ad. So, you know, I know that in the 60s, Volkswagen was doing these understatement anti-hero ads. I think AMC's ad department said, you know, let's try to undersell the machine and play the irony and the sense of humor. It kind of worked, but saying your car is not as fast as a slow freight train, is that really a good way to sell cars? I don't know, it doesn't matter. But these were fairly popular. Again, the Rebel below the Matador, and the final year for Rebel right here, 1970, as AMC moved into the 1970s with smaller vehicles. The Hornet, the Gremlin, really kind of took a lot of the attention away from the big cars as the OPEC fuel thing arrived in 73, and big cars like this gave way to smaller compacts. So that's the story of the Rebel. The Wagon, as seen here, began in 1957 as a performance car, 327, lightweight car, perhaps one of the first muscle cars. But again, by 1970, it was merely a brand on 2-doors, 4-doors, and wagons. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Maggs YouTube channel. We'll be back tomorrow with more Junkyard Crawl.